Today on Mind Behind the Music, we're joined by Gus G, internationally recognized guitarist and founder of Firewind, and Ozzy Osbourne's lead guitarist from 2009 to 2017, appearing on the album Scream. Beyond his work with Ozzy, he's performed with bands including Arch Enemy, Dream Evil, and Night Rage, while building a consistent solo career known for both technical precision and strong melodic identity. He's currently in a new release cycle with his 2026 solo album, Steel Burner, while continuing to tour and develop new material with Firewind. Gus, it's great to have you here, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
man. Let's get right into this. Now, when you look at your career, what's the one internal shift that allowed you to stay consistent while everything around you kept changing? What was the change that you had to adapt to, and your approach from Firewind to Ozzy?
Every gig was different, of course. Like you just said, Firewind to Ozzy. I mean, Firewind is something that it's like my baby. I started that when I was like 18, 19. So it's like one of those situations where I just created something out of nothing, right? So I learned on the go. I didn't have anybody to guide me through anything. So I I only did things as I thought it would be right, without knowing what was right or what was wrong. And I was so young, and by the time I reached, I reached the stage to be called for an audition to do Ozzy and all that, and getting that gig, that is a whole different world.
Yeah.
At the main difference is, I mean, besides the level of whatever of doing things like that professionally, it's that one band is my thing, my creation, and the other one I'm a hired gun.
Yeah.
So, and again, I didn't have much experience being a sideman or anything. So I I I was just observing a lot of things
Kind of
and
learned
trying
as
to,
you went along, right?
yeah, just try to be a fly on the wall and see how they do things, and maybe try to not say the wrong thing, and just try to navigate through this, and then ask questions of things I didn't understand or I didn't know, um, which was really eye opening. It was uh, it was a big learning school for me.
Yeah.
Being part of an organization like that. The only other experience I had being like working for somebody and being a hired gun was with Arch Enemy, prior to Ozzy, and I did like a summer tour with them back in 2005, and that was like my first experience of a professional band. I had like a management, a crew, so I had a first insight of what it's like to be at that level,
Yeah. The music
as opposed to just being completely DIY and
yeah.
not knowing what the hell I'm doing most of the time. So
Yeah. Right.
so yeah, you know what stayed consistent the whole time was just my love for guitar and music, and just trying to be on top of my game, and just try to play the best I can in all situations.
When you get into a project, like with Ozzy, going from your own thing, DIY, like you were saying, to, a project like Ozzy that's very organized and business side of it, that had to have been a definite learning experience for you.
It was
Uh,
mind blowing, just
so how has that helped you from that experience now, with the stuff that you're doing now?
just to see how they did their productions. Obviously they had like a large crew, a lot of people were working there, and a lot of people were doing a lot of things. Of course, you see how they run their business, and how well rehearsed. We did a lot of rehearsals, for example. I never did a lot of rehearsals with Firewind, but going into Ozzy, rehearsals were very important.
Yeah.
And we spent like days and weeks rehearsing the same stuff over and over again. Like the muscle memory was like,
Yeah.
you could really like play everything in your sleep at some point. And I definitely took that away. Like I put a lot more weight a lot more weight into the rehearsing part, and just like into details and how the production should be. And of course, you scale it down when you go back to your own band, whatever it is, like club level touring and stuff. But still, There's always something to take away. Always something to take away from each situation.
With Firewind and Arch Enemy, that's a different style compared to Ozzy, which
Hmm.
the guitar work on it is very intricate. It's very technical. It's fast, and with Ozzy, it's more structured. It's more like Randy Rose, for example. Melodic. It's a whole different approach. I can only imagine what it was like to go from writing with Firewind to writing with Ozzy. You did an album with Ozzy, and how was that experience? Your writing
Yeah.
experience. How did that change? How did you approach that?
Well, well, here's the thing. I played on an album called Scream, but I didn't write that album.
Okay.
It was a very unorthodox session for me in the sense that I walked in and they already had the music, the lyrics, everything. The whole album was done, but there was no guitars. And I've never seen anything like it in my career. So basically I walked in there and they said, "Well, here's a record, just put your guitars on there." I mean, they were like the riffs were made by the producer, Kevin Churko, who kind of like edited everything.
Yeah.
It sounded very mechanical. And then they said, "Well, your job is to kind of normalize this as a guitar player would." So it was very strange, like almost working backwards, like you have
Yeah.
a finished record, but there's like no guitar parts in it. So we sat there, me and Kevin, and for a few weeks, and I adapted all those riffs, and then there were no solo parts. We added all the solo parts. We added some melodies here and there. Um, it was a very interesting session for sure. And
That
of
sounds
course,
that sounds like really, like you said, you're working backwards with that.
yeah, it was a bit nerve wracking in that sense. Like you're sitting there, you're like, what am I supposed to do here?
Yeah.
Like it's and I hear the riffs and I can play them how I would play it, but you have to follow certain guidelines and I don't know. It's not like you're sitting there, you have like a few riffs and you just start constructing because I usually start with a riff and then add all the
Yeah.
parts. So this
Yeah.
was like the exact opposite.
Yeah. That's strange.
Yeah.
I haven't
And
really.
of course,
Go
and
ahead.
add on top of that, add the fact that it's an Aussie record and you have to kind of put a mark on it as a guitar player, like your
Yeah.
stamp on it, because it's like such a legacy thing. So it was very, very tough, very strange.
Yeah. That
Um,
sounds strange. I've never heard of anybody working like that ever.
Me neither,
That is strange.
but we did
Well,
it. We did it, and it's a record. I'll tell you, Mal. I think this record, even like it's been 16 years since it came out. I think there's some really good stuff on there.
that's cool.
I mean, like composition wise, like the songwriting wise, there's a few really good songs on that album, and I think it's pretty underrated. Um, but yeah, that was my situation walking into this.
Ozzy's always been known for having amazing guitar players, like Randy Rhoads, Jakey Lee, Zach Wild. With Randy, he approached his solos where he wrote them out. Did you improvise all of your solos on that album, or did you
No,
approach it with structure and attempt to approach it something like Randy would have done?
my take on it was like more on the Randy philosophy. So and not only because of the Ozzy record, but I always did that, even on the Firewind records and all that. I tend to really work out all the parts. It comes from improvisation, of course. Everything
Yeah,
comes from
yeah, yeah,
improvising.
of
I'll just
course.
do a bunch of takes and see what I like, and I'll kind of like build it up bar by bar.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's how I did it also on the
yeah,
on
yeah.
the.
That's kind of what I do too. I'll do like 20 takes or whatever, and until I start really locking into the song, and I'll come up with a couple riffs here and there just from the improvisation, like you were talking about, and then
Yeah,
start building it from there. It's not necessarily. Sometimes theory comes into play, but most generally it does come from improvising. So that had to have been challenging, man. That had to have been like nerve
it,
wracking, especially coming into a band where the guitar players are expected to be amazing, and you really didn't have an opportunity to grow with the band. It sounds like to me.
No, no. It was not an opportunity to sit down and write something from scratch. They were like, well, we're done with this. Like, there's no, they were like, take all the time you need to do your guitarist, but if there's not enough time to sit here and then like rewrite the record from start. So it was just one of those situations, and
You know, you were only going to be hired gun for like limited time.
yeah. My
Yeah.
deal was for that album and the world tour. It was one of those deals where it was an album and a tour. And I was like, well, of course you do this and you hope for the best. And it is like such a great opportunity and once in 10 lifetimes opportunity, especially for a guy coming from a small country like Greece,
Yeah.
being in there all of a sudden. And I knew it was going to do amazing things for my career, of course.
Sure, it opened
Yeah,
up a lot of doors for you, yeah, right?
it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up working with the Osbournes for about 5 or 6 years. So I didn't expect that they would call me back after that, but they did, and we had a really good relationship, and yeah.
And then you ended up in Arch Enemy. Is that how it went? Yeah.
No. Arch Enemy was before.
Oh, it
Arch Enemy was
was okay.
2005. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Didn't Jeff Loomis end up playing for them guys too?
Yes, yeah.
That's a
That was
very,
after me.
you got the experience from the Ozzy thing, and I'm sure it opened up many doors for you. And as you mentioned, you kind of were aware of it being a limited opportunity, but still, I mean, anybody that gets an opportunity to play with Ozzy is going to be opening some doors. And
For
to my
sure.
understanding, just to elaborate on that a little bit, is that Ozzy was getting tired of the same riffs that Zakk Wylde was writing, and it started sounding like Black Label Society, everything. So he wanted another guitar player to come in to offer a fresh perspective. Uh, is that true? Are
Well,
you
that's
aware of
what
that?
that's what they were saying. That's what they were saying in interviews and press, of course. And the thing is, like, uh, guys like these two guys, Ozzy and Zach, they go way back,
Yeah.
like to the late '80s. They had such strong ties, like they've been through a lot together. So, um, just like any long-term working relationship, maybe sometimes you just need a break from each other for a while. Those guys go way back, so I'm sure maybe it was a situation where they maybe needed a break for a couple of years from each other, or whatever. And I'm only guessing here, because I'm
Yeah.
not the kind of guy who went around asking questions about that
Yeah.
stuff. I read the stuff that they said on press and stuff, and of course, a couple of years later, Zach was back with us because we did the Ozzy and Friends tour, and Zach was part of the tour.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's family with Ozzy, and he
Yeah.
was also super nice to me, and I was the whole time I was thinking, well, they don't really need me here anyways. I mean, Zach is kind of back on this tour, but
Yeah.
but they were nice. They kept me around, and I was like part of the main band, and then Zach was more like a special guest, and
So
it
there
was
wasn't
nice.
really any hard feelings when Zakk kind of came back into the picture.
No, man, I'm such a fan. So
Yeah, right.
it's not like I was like, oh well, this is my band and this is my
Yeah,
spot. I never saw it like that. I mean, you have to think like Ozzy's a solo artist first and foremost, and he can jam with whoever the hell he wants
yeah,
to.
yeah.
Um,
Hearing that, definitely.
so and
So
like I said from the start, I had like a deal for an album and a tour, and that was like extended into a few years. So hey, who am I to complain? It was great.
yeah, that's awesome, man. It's awesome. So just out of curiosity, you obviously had to learn, a variety of tunes. Some of the
Mhm.
Randy stuff, some of the Jakey Lee stuff. I don't know Ozzy was doing that, but definitely some of the Zakk Wylde. Was there any particular song that was really challenging for you? Which I find hard to believe any would be, considering your level of ability, but curiosity.
Some of the Sabbath stuff was not, I wouldn't say difficult, but kind of strange to learn because a lot of the solos that Tony Iommi did, he didn't have that Randy Rhoads thing where
Yeah.
Tony Iommi was like
All
just
improvisation. Yeah.
improvise. And if you hear it close to those, if you listen closely to those records, like some of the stuff he would record a different solo on the left side and then a different solo on
Yeah.
the right side. And
Yeah,
I don't know why he did that, but I guess that was like a part of the psychedelic thing of the 70s. So
true.
maybe there were like some parts where the two guitars would meet and then they would just like go like
Yeah,
left and right. And
intertwined like counter melodies or whatever, right?
so some of this stuff was like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? Do I just wing it or I need to keep like some of these parts in there? So I think that was probably the most challenging.
What you do, just try to get some of the main, riffs, and then just improvise from there.
Yeah, like the solos were. I mean, come on, like War Pigs or something. That's like
Oh,
that's like the main core solo of it, and then there's like a middle part where you can just improvise a bit, and you gotta come back to it. So there was a lot of things like that that Tony Iommi did, and
so
I think that was my approach. You know, keeping the main things that all the fans know, they recognize, keeping
yeah,
the main things that like the main cues basically of the solos, and then like the more free form parts. Then I just did my thing. You know.
yeah. Did you try to keep the same vibe, kind of, or
Yeah.
did you start playing 64th notes, on a
Yeah,
Sabbath
yeah.
too?
It's not like I did all the tapping and the arpeggios and stuff on the Sabbath tonight. That's not the kind of thing you do there. You just try to play a bit more bluesy and stuff, you know, maybe fast pentatonic runs. That's it.
What did your practice actually look like when you were unknown, and what does it look like now at your level?
When I was younger and I was in my hard practicing years, I would just play guitar like all day long, like 8 to 10 hours. And, you know, it included everything pretty much. You know, I would kind of separate. I remember I picked up an issue of Guitar World and there was this super workout from Steve Vai,
Hmm.
and I read it, and I was like,
An
"Oh,
hour
this is
workout.
yeah, this is the Bible." So
Yeah.
you know, I kind of separated into like, oh, the chordal stuff, then the rhythm stuff, then like the you know the soloing, shredding stuff, like the technique stuff, and then so I would kind of follow that those tips that Steve Vai
Huh.
had said, yeah.
Yeah, dude, I followed that too, man. And it, just the structure of it gives you, an idea of how to structure your own practice. And that's what I took from it too. So when you stepped into Ozzy's band, what changed mentally the moment you realized there was no room for error?
I really approached that gig as an athlete, so to speak. Like I, it's like almost you're going, even though music is not an Olympic sport or anything, but I had that kind of
There's a synergy between the two.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, like I approached it with some kind of yeah, like a mentality, like a state of mind where, you know, you do your warm-ups, you make sure you play on the top of your game, you run your scales every day, you know, you make sure there's no mistakes, like your muscle memory is like a top form.
Yeah.
On I'm not really a drinker or I don't do any of that stuff, so I completely stayed away from all that stuff. On days off I would rest or maybe go to the gym for a little bit, but mainly rest. So I really approached it as an athlete. I wanted to be on top of my game, so that was like that was like a game changer for me. Like, and I had to step up my performance 10 times because at that point I played mainly clubs, and of course I played on big festival stages, but nothing like, you
Mm.
know, as a headliner together with Ozzy, or like, you know, that we play the biggest arenas in the world. So it was I took it seriously, man. Like, this is a big opportunity and got to do the best we can.
Yeah, and that stayed with you since then, I'm sure, that experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It,
And
it,
that work and that work ethic also stayed with me. Like
yeah.
I always approach my gigs like that. Even if I play a small club for like 100 people, I don't care. To me, it's like very, very important. Like it's
Yeah, it's
yeah.
crucial, man. I wanted to ask you about your approach when you practice. I mean, do you stretch before you play?
Yes, I do.
Good.
I do like all these you know,
Yeah,
typical stretches like my fingers and like elbows and
crucial.
shoulders. And I never had any injuries. I mean, of course, I had like some pains here and there, like we all do. You
Yeah.
know, when you it's normal when you play so many hours a day for so many years.
Mm,
But I never had any tendonitis or things like that. I make sure I never get injured seriously or anything like that.
good.
So yeah, I do stretch. And I always say that to a lot of kids that ask me about this because I've met people that have had injuries and bad ones too. And I always ask them, the first thing I say, do you do you warm up before you play? And most, like 10 out of 10 times people will say no. Well, there you have your answer.
Yeah. That's definitely crucial, and that goes back to the synergy between an athlete and a musician, because as an athlete they always stretch before they perform.
Before you go, yeah, before you go to the if you start before you start jogging, aren't you going to stretch your legs first? Of course you
Yeah.
do. So it's the same thing with the guitar.
You came up in a genre with very strong identities. How did you avoid becoming a reflection of your influences, where you developed your own voice?
Mhm.
How did you develop your own voice? How do you feel that you avoided, you know, being a clone of
Yeah,
your influences?
it's a good question. It's all I'm a firm believer that I think a personal style is something that takes time to develop.
Yeah.
Unless you're, the god of guitar like Michael
Eddie
Schenker
Van,
or
or
Yngwie
Eddie
Malmsteen
Van
or Eddie Van
Halen.
Halen. Yeah, yeah. Unless you're somebody like that,
Mm.
and there's only one of these guys, and there are like very few of them in
Oh, yeah.
history. But yeah, like for the rest of us, I think it's something you just develop, and it develops through trial and error. Just I always say, like, you learn when you grow up, you learn your licks, your tricks, your scales, your chords, and you kind of put all the earlier guitar licks in a little bag,
Mm.
and you kind of keep the best that you like. And then one day, like 10, 15 years later, you just opened up bag of guitar licks, and there you have it. It's kind of molded into your personality. I like to think of it a little bit like that, but it's something that takes time.
Yeah.
And I questioned that about myself over the years. I always thought, well, because people were telling me, oh, but this is so, what you do is like so Gus. I said,
Sounds like
what
this
is this?
guy or sounds like that guy. Yeah.
And or they were like, this is so you, and this is so you. And I was like, what is it that makes me? And then I realized as I was getting older, like, oh, I go back and listen to some of my early records, and I'm like, oh, this is something that I came up with when I was like 20, 22, and I still do that kind of stuff. And I see what people are telling me. So
Yeah.
I always tell like younger players, like, it's don't worry about it. Like, it's some keep you have to keep working at your music, on your own thing, and on your playing. I think improvisation, trying to develop your improvisational skills, that helps a lot too.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice, man, because it's an application. It's not just learning a riff. It's learning how to apply it yourself, and how to
Exactly.
incorporate it into what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you've maintained consistency over years. What do you think causes other players at a high level to burn out or disappear?
Hard to say. A lot of musicians get burned out by the business, not so much because, definitely not because of the music. Is the
Yeah,
music is, if nothing else, it's the healer of all.
yeah,
um, but I think a lot of musicians they get burned out by the industry. They just can't keep up, or like things are moving so fast. Sometimes they feel really disconnected with how things are, or how things are going. And I hear that. I sometimes I feel like that too. And so
So how do you stay grounded?
um, at the end of the day, I always, whenever I feel stressed about something, or if I'm feeling like, oh, I feel like I'm burning out here, I just take a step back from everything.
Yeah,
Like I've learned how to say no to things that I don't want to do, or if it's making me a bit more stressful. And then I always whenever I turn my head only to guitar, the pure love for that is always there. And then none of that business stuff matters. So that is what keeps me grounded, like my love for the instrument and my love for music.
nice, man.
So I say, well, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, how successful you are, if you have a flop record, if nobody cares or something. Like, as long as I feel good when I play this stuff, then I'm good. And then eventually, and then you kind of like start building again from the ground up. You're like, okay, if I like it and I feel it makes me feel good, maybe somebody else will like it. And then I kind of go back into the whole motion of things. And it's
Get
hard to
inspired
explain.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I can totally relate to that real quick. That I got to a point where after playing for so many years, and yeah, you keep pursuing success or whatever, and you get this close to it, and then it doesn't happen. like you said, it's the business that really starts burning you out, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And I got to the point where I just felt like giving up, you know? And I talked to, I don't want to keep dropping names, so I'm just going to tell you the story real quick. But, you know, this artist told me that, you know, I needed to remember why I started playing, you know? And
yeah,
that's because I loved it, you know?
yep,
And that right there alone was enough for me to um, totally feel like it was, you know, back when I was a teenager,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
just started focusing on that.
You just got to remember that feeling again. That's what it
Yeah.
is. You gotta. It's a mind trick. You know, like you have to go back into that, and you're like, oh man, that because that's like that's as pure as it gets.
Yeah.
And music is should be pure. You know, the whole and like spending time with the instrument should be fun.
Yeah.
So
And if you're not enjoying it, you need to step away from it.
yeah, and
Or
and
you
I've seen
might
that
want to
happen.
consider something else.
Yeah, I've seen that happen a lot with my band members as well in the past. People I've worked with, and a lot of people have quit my band Firewind because of that, because of the burnout for us,
Yeah.
maybe staying out on the road too long, and when the band was getting bigger, like more
Expectations.
opportunity, more
Oh, more
expectations,
opportunity.
or opportunities came in, and then certain people can't follow up.
Yeah.
And I get that. And I always tell them, like, hey, man, if your stomach aches when we're doing this, like, this is not the right place for you to be. You should go home. So, and I will understand.
You're absolutely 100% correct. Let's get into the rapid fire questions. All
Yep.
right. And then we'll wrap this up. All right, buddy. First riff you ever obsessed over? First guitar riff
Oh,
you ever obsessed?
I think it was probably Black Sabbath, NIB, or Iron Man. I think those two are the ones I remember.
Sweet. Hardest Ozzy song to perform live, mentally or technically?
Whew, I I wouldn't say hardest, but there was a song called "Killer of Giants" that we did, and it has a long, clean intro where it was just me on my own playing there. And as much as I love that intro, there was always like this little guy in the back of my head, like, don't mess
You're
it
gonna mess
up,
it up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because everything's focused on you, you know.
yeah.
So, yeah. What habit that made the biggest difference in your playing?
My practice discipline.
Okay. Awesome,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Studio or stage?
I've thought hard about this for years, and I think I've come to the conclusion that it's a stage. And as much as I love to create stuff in my studio, I hate recording albums like properly, like doing from scratch. I couldn't be the studio guy. Like
Yeah,
I need to get out of the house and be on a stage. So I have to pick stage. Yeah.
cool, man. One guitarist that people wouldn't expect that influenced you.
Peter Frampton.
Good choice, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Most underrated skill a guitarist should develop.
Most underrated skill.
Skill, yeah, that a guitarist should develop. It'd be like vibrato or underrated,
Um,
though, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
Something simple. You know, something that's simple that really is crucial toward anybody's playing that, you know, maybe may be overlooked at times. I would think, you know, vibrato or
Yeah,
your band
vibrato.
or your bands, you know. Zach Wild's got a fucking amazing vibrato, dude.
Yeah, I think
But
vibrato because to me this is like the soul of every guitar player, vibrato, and a lot of guitar
yeah,
players don't really develop it enough because they
yeah,
get caught up with so many other techniques. So yeah, I will agree. Vibrato is yeah,
very cool, man. All right,
yeah,
couple more. Moment you felt real pressure for the first time on a major stage.
yeah. I think that must have been like my first gig with Ozzy. Like
Yeah,
it was in Anaheim at the BlizzCon convention. Yeah, yeah, that was pretty nerve wracking.
yeah, I can imagine, man. How many people were there
I think it was
approximately?
Well, the thing is, it was 10,000 seater, but the thing is, that show was televised on pay-per-view,
Oh,
uh, and
so
they did not tell Ozzy because he would get stressed about
yeah,
it. but we knew about it, and that was my
You
first
were
gig.
aware of it, yeah. So it's like
Yeah,
you're afraid of making any mistakes, and yeah,
yeah,
sometimes when I'm under pressure like that, that's when I actually start making mistakes. But
yep.
one thing fans misunderstand about being a professional musician.
Yeah, a couple of actually. That we are really filthy rich, and that's not
Yeah,
the
yeah,
99.9 is not true. That's one thing. I mean, most people that I know that are professional, they are barely getting by. So
yeah. It's sad, man.
that's one.
It really is
Yeah, and
sad.
the other thing is that a lot of people think that, oh, you're a professional musician, though you're a rock star, so that means that people are really, everybody knows you all over the world. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no. If you're a famous guitar player, the only other people that probably care about you is maybe some other guitar players. That's about it.
Guitar player. Yeah, like me. Yeah, that's it. If you had to strip your playing down to one defining trait, what is it?
I think probably my melodic sense. I think the melodies. Yeah, so that's what a lot of people are commenting on. Um, or maybe the combination of my technique and how melodic I can get. So yeah,
It's awesome, dude. What are you up to right now? And is there anything that you want to share with the viewer?
yeah,
Yeah, what do you
absolutely. I have a new solo album actually that comes out this Friday, April 24th.
beautiful.
Um, it's called Steel Burner, and it's actually a 50-50 kind of album. Half of it is instrumental, and half of it has vocal guests. And I have some amazing people singing on there. And yeah, I hope people can check it out.
Yeah, man. So where can we find out more about you and what's going on with you? Are you on tour? You doing a
Well, I mean,
tour?
obviously, people can keep in touch and find out all the news through my websites, all my social media, gusgofficial.com, and all my social media is Gus G Official. And I am going on tour this starting this summer, playing a bunch of festivals in Europe. September, I'm coming to America with Firewind. We're doing a couple of weeks tour.
Nice.
And then October, November, I'm over in Europe and Japan. So it's going to be a heavy touring schedule this year, starting like from June onwards.
Good, man. That's good. One thing I almost forgot to ask you about is your endorsement with IK Multimedia, dude. You know,
Yes.
dude, those plugins, I especially love yours, you know?
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
the tones of them, man. So, what do they do? They just be like, "Hey, here, check these out. Do you like this?" And then you put your name on it, or do you sit
No,
down with them guys and actually, get a tone and everything?
no. I'll tell you how I did it because they have this software you can do like you can do your own profiling, your own tone capturing, what they
Yeah,
call it.
yeah.
So I basically did a lot of it here in my home studio, but also in another professional studio here in town where I live.
Mm.
I took I captured all my personal amp collection, all my Black Stars, my EVH amps, my Engels, stuff like that, and so that's all me. I did all that
Oh,
stuff,
that's awesome, dude.
and so this is all personal. I also captured all my stomp boxes and all that stuff. So this is real. It's not something that I just put my name on that
Yeah,
somebody just put on the
right.
table.
I always
I
wondered that. I always
No,
wondered.
I never do endorsements like that when I'm not really involved into this because it has to be something that I use. Otherwise, I can't promote it.
Yeah, that's a good attitude. I fucking love them, dude. I have the Axe IO, through IK, and then I got all your plugins, and
Yeah.
out of all of them, that those are the ones that I use almost exclusively.
Wow. Thank you.
But
Thank you.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I'll tell you what. Because I'm like a tube amp guy for many years, and
yeah,
since a couple of years ago, since I discovered Tonex and all that, this is what I use live as well. My amp captures, like the Tone Asylum that I put out. This is the
yeah,
stuff that I use on stage as well. It sounds really good.
yeah, man. That stuff sounds kick ass, dude. So yeah, thank you for creating that. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time, Gus.
Appreciate it, John.
Again, congratulations on your newborn. I
Thank
wish
you.
you the best with your endeavors. And
It's a pleasure, man. I always love talking guitar and music with people. So
yeah, me too, man. I really enjoyed this conversation, Gus. So,
thank
all
you.
right, man.
Likewise.
All right.
Have a
Have a
good
good,
one.
yeah, you too, buddy. Take care, man.
Bye. Bye bye.
Bye.